I left a little early from a Tech 9 concert tonight for two reasons. One, I didn't want to stay after the encore because then I would have to be on the road at the same time as all the people who were turned up, and I figured driving home before they did was probably smart, so I could afford to miss an encore. The other reason I left early was I thought, hey, I recorded some Bellator fights tonight on DVR. Let's go home and watch those. It could be a really good show. Now, the first reason was a very good decision. The second was anything but. I suppose Bellator has to have a dud once in a while, but boy did they start out with a dud in a really big way at the open of this show. Raphael Butler and Rossborough, I can't even remember his first name now, it was Rossborough, something Rossborough. I don't care. This was a bowling shoe ugly fight because Rossborough hurt him in the first round and got his back, but then Butler threw an illegal reverse headbutt, just went and gave him a headbutt backward, and the fight was stopped. He got deducted 1 point, and as a result of this, even though Butler won the second and third round by taking Rossborough down and holding him there, it ended up being a majority draw. One judge actually gave it 28-27 to Butler, the other two gave it 28-28, and this was such a cluster that Michael Williams had to go over and help the judges with their scorecards. And it took them so long to figure it out, they actually went to a second commercial break. We went to a commercial break and came back thinking the scores would be announced, and went to another commercial break because they couldn't figure it out. Jesus, this was terrible. So, thankfully, the second fight was a little better because Marius Zaromskis showed some flashes of when he was the Dream Welterweight champion. He looked really good out there. First round was close, but second and third, he took over in the fight and was just handing Vaughn Anderson his butt because Vaughn kept getting kicked in the leg and he was clearly limping. And once you start limping, that's a bullseye, and a fighter that's a strong kicker is going to target it. And then Zaromskis realized he had Vaughn badly hurt and just turned aggressive, super aggressive, throwing spinning back fists, high kicks, body kicks. He just dominated this fight and picked up a unanimous decision. Absolutely no surprise. But then we got our third straight decision of the Bellator 119 card, and that was John Alessio wrestling his way to a victory. The American fighter Eric Wisely really had nothing for him. Now, I don't know. Don't know if Bellator was not planning for competitive fights considering they had a pay-per-view coming up next weekend and just figured, hey, we'll get by with whatever we got. Sorry, TV was about to come on, so I had to mute it there. I put it on pause just so I could talk about this. Anyway, they probably just weren't worried about it. They figured this is a throwaway show. We're going to make sure that we have everything on pay-per-view next weekend. But you know what? They shouldn't have thought that way, because if you're not going to televise excitement, don't do it, because the crowd was not excited. Casino Rama was either not responding to anything or booing when they were responding because they were bored with seeing guys being held down. So even though Alessio was the quote-unquote hometown fighter, he's from Vancouver. He's not necessarily in the neighborhood of Casino Rama, but he's a fellow Canadian, so they liked him better than the American. They didn't boo too much in this one, but it was not a good fight. The fight of the night was either the Marius Zaromskis fight or the main event, when we finally got our only televised finish, and that was Daniel Weichel from Frankfurt, Germany, taking apart Des Green in the second round, hurting him badly with standing strikes, then getting the back, getting the rear naked choke, and getting the tap at 2:07. So Weichel gets a $100,000 check, and he gets a shot at the Bellator Featherweight champion. So congratulations to him. At least Bellator 119 ended on a high note. That's your Bellator recap. I'm Stevie J.